All right, so the last one we're going to talk about is number 7 from the Go formative. Okay, this problem is slightly different compared to the other ones. We're still going to use the same ideas of sine, cosine, and tangent, and that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay, but in this problem, instead of finding specifically a sine, cosine, or tangent, we're trying to find a side length. In this case, we're looking for CA, which, if you notice, my triangle here is labeled by this question mark. Now, when I'm actually solving this problem, let's slightly change this. Instead of a question mark, let's use an X, okay? Let's apply that side, the unknown, as X or a variable, okay? Next, let's kind of play around with what we know. We know cosine of C is equal to 0.74, okay? So we know cosine of C is equal to 0.74. We also know cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, okay? From the last couple of videos, we know that sine, excuse me, cosine has to be adjacent over hypotenuse, and they actually tell us what that answer is going to be. So with this information, let's start filling in what we know, okay? We actually have the adjacent side to cosine of C. Okay, if we focus on our triangle here, cosine of C is that angle right there. The adjacent side, or the one that connects to it, that's not the hypotenuse, is this one right here, which we know has to equal 19. Besides that, the hypotenuse, or the unknown, we already labeled as an x value. So let's go ahead and plug both these values into our formula here, or whatever this is. We have 0.74 equals the adjacent side, which is 19, over the hypotenuse, which is x. Okay? At this point, we don't have to even worry about any sort of trig function or anything like that, because technically we just have a solvable equation sitting right here in front of us. So let's go ahead and try to get the x by itself. Our first step is we have to get rid of this x right here. To do that, since we're dividing on one side, to move it to the other one, we're going to multiply. It'll cancel out my two x's there and leave me with 0.74 x equals 19. From there, to get rid of the 0.74, straightforward, we just have to divide it out to give us a final answer of x has to be right around, and we can round up for this one, 25.7. Okay? So if you notice, it's a lot of the same process here. Okay? I'm still using the idea of a triangle. I'm still using the idea of what cosine actually is equal to. But now, to actually solve it out, I have to kind of dive deeper into this whole idea of cosine being adjacent over hypotenuse and solve it out for, instead of just a cosine, but for an actual side length. Okay?